joined us. Hey, Jordan, I hear you passed your HP1 first phase anyway with flying colors.
Well, the first phase, well, you know how it works, Tim, with your teacher, is you always make sure that there's one or two things in it that they've taught you right off the bat. So we started off with a warm-up drill that was an FIO drill that Wally had shared with me a long time ago. So I knew I was going to be off to the right start then. So
never a little graph never hurt either. Wally loves sushi, so a little sushi gift certificate probably will go a long way to passing your HP1.
Jordan, what are the tasks you have to do right now? Jordan?
Oh, are you muted, Jordan?
Yeah, no.
Oh, no.
No,
just
I've got a
task you're having to do right now. Tasks, period, or plural.
Oh, the tasks for the HP1 right now is basically a practice plan or two, and going through those, executing the practice, and then following that is a game plan and being observed while on the bench with that, and well, the whole game plan right through the dressing room piece and pre-icing and between each periods, as well as the conclusion of a game too. So it's fairly all-encompassing that way, but I've been fortunate enough to have been taking this master's course in coaching over the past year and a half of COVID, of Thursday morning Sharks calls, that I was pretty confident in what I've been doing this year, and excited about putting it to the test, putting theory to practice. So it's been.
I was curious because I'm doing the goaltender certification right now, and so we're on task 5, I think, of 16. But right now we're doing this stuff on the Hockey Canada app. So creating practice plans on there, and so we have goaltending practice plans you have to create, and how to teach coaches how to teach goalies, but also the one is shooting drills for scoring on goalies, but navigating the Hockey Canada app. So I'm curious, Jordan, how you're doing navigating the app.
We aren't using the app. No, we use the Coach Them is the drill draw platform that we use. Oop. That's okay. Coach Them is the drill draw platform that we use with our association, and then it's I post all of my practice plans to Team Snap for the players.
But through the Hockey Canada HP1, you guys didn't have to navigate the Hockey Canada drill app?
No, the HP1, I started that prior to COVID, and it was a week-long seminar at Red Deer with Hockey Alberta, and so I did all of the written portion previously, and this is just the field test.
Gotcha.
Sammy, I'm just going to interject for a minute, and Jordan as well. What he talked about was his my formal role evaluation related to practice and a game, and because he's been on the Sharks for so long, it's a no-brainer. He's ahead of the game. Like the Hockey Canada app doesn't keep up with us relative to developmental tactics and strategies. And Jordan, and I talked about this earlier, Jordan, when Mike Benelli was on, that you daring to try Daryl's stuff on the ice and sharing his video of what he did and running the same drills at practice was, from an HP1 evaluator's point of view, a high-risk thing to do, but they got it. So I see the merits of this forward-thinking going on. And because we're, talking every week about what's going on today, we can keep up at least with the game. And Jordan, the assignment, I believe you had an assignment when you took your 7-day course and you had to complete a long exam and submit it. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, I submitted that. It was right after COVID, basically. Yeah, it was one of those things that I think that you get out of it what you put in. So I put a considerable amount of time into that because I knew that it was something that it didn't matter what team I would have in the future, that it would be that foundational piece in helping me think through a season plan and all of those all-encompassing pieces that way.
Jordan, I did my HP one also, and you're right. You get out what you put in, and I was not coaching any teams, nor have I. So I figured that I would just go and do it for real when I was back coaching at that level, because I felt like you're right. I took the weekend. It was great. I mean, it was they encouraged the girls to do it while you're within the Hockey Canada program. But without having an evaluator being able to come and assess you on the bench and help you through things, and I just felt like I was not really at the right place to be able to do it all and be able to successfully learn what I needed to learn in that environment. So I loved the week for sure, and I loved some of the written stuff, but I feel like that's where you really get out of it, is having the evaluators there with you, giving you that feedback.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the other thing, obviously, it's been fortunate for me to having Wally as the evaluator, because I know that I'm in a safe place to take risks, and so that's been a good piece too. Go ahead, Wally.
He's a hard marker, Jordan. Be careful.
When you sort of expressed concern that we hadn't used the Hockey Canada app, I've been exposed to it very early and went through it. And for me, it deals with very advanced, high-level kids at all ages. It doesn't deal with the teaching and the progressions and regressions necessary to be able to teach to get to that point. So I haven't really delved into that. And during Jordan's ice time, he had his assistant coaches between drills do so about 3 minutes of specific skill work. One was stop and tee start. The other one was cross and drop passing, and then forward and backward skating, passing and touch passing on forehand and backhand sides. Really, really good stuff. And I was able to intervene with the assistant coach on the side and share some teaching points about the stop and tee start, because they didn't turn their heads to allow the momentum to shift the center of gravity to make a tee start possible. And when I evaluate, I am evaluating the receptivity to these kinds of ideas. And the staff was entirely open-minded to accepting it. And I know I talked to Jordan as he was doing his one-on-one race drill. The defense, excellent striders, but they couldn't use their arms. So Jordan, can you relate that story a little bit about what happened?
Yeah, sure, Wally. So the D, we started early this year with the importance of striding, and of course there's that one-on-one race where basically the D are starting as low as you possibly can get them down to the goal line. Right now they're at just below the dot, and the forwards are starting on the goal line, and it's just a one-on-one race where the forwards have to stay along the boards, can't cut to the middle till the far blue, and the D have to stride backwards. We allow them one crossover in their start, but then it's straight striding to the far blue line before they can angle or commit to contact with the forward. And so it's been interesting go with it. The kids are uncomfortable with it to begin with, but they bought in early and said, can we do that more often, because they wanted to be better striders. But what Wally's observation was, and was one that I kind of felt that I should have picked up on, but I guess I've been too concentrated on their footwork. And he was talking about how a lot of them had their upper body was neutral, that it wasn't working in concert with their lower body and the push pull. And so when he brought that to my attention, I watched a couple more kids go, and I'm like, yeah, you're 100% correct. So brought the kids in, gave them that feedback, told them that we would challenge them to do that for 2 more goes each, and call it the end of the drill, because they were kind of getting tired, because they get wore out in that there's far fewer D than forwards. So did a couple more, and the observation from a couple of the players were, one girl, she immediately said, I'm faster this way, and she goes, it doesn't feel as tight in my chest as she was skating. So it was a good it was a really good experience that way, and the kids were seeing, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but there were quite a few of them that saw immediate result from it too.
Well, I know Tim has a question, but I have a comment on that after. So go ahead,
Yeah,
Tim.
I think Wally had his hand up first, so go ahead, Wally.
Well, I that my hand was up from before, but I did want to mention, and I'm going to remind you, Jordan, when you're talking about tasks, when I'm doing Jordan, he's helping the program, because what he's doing on the ice and his ability to experiment and what he's learned, he's applying. So my prediction was that practice wasn't going to work. It worked unbelievably well. So the forward thinking that to take and do Darryl Belfry's stuff with a group of girls the first time and put in drills that I barely could understand, let alone execute, was a tribute to his ability to read his audience, which is a female coached group, extremely intelligent, and they just picked up on it like you wouldn't believe. So I've given Jordan a couple of tasks he may have forgot about. You know, the passing is not a problem, but I've asked him to do, I'm going to ask him to do a couple of assignments. One of them was, just over the phone, he shared a conversation with a girl and dealing with her journal. And I've asked him to do a 1-page summary of that. And Jordan, for the listeners, could you share that story? And then we'll go to Tim Bothwell's question. But this is the idea of high performance evaluation is learning. And so
before you do that, Jordan, I just had a really quick, when you mentioned that the D got tired because there are a lot more forwards than D, really good opportunity to use some of your forwards to learn the same skill, because on occasion in a game, they're going to be caught in that situation where they got to defend one-on-one, especially if you use a forward as a D on a power play or something. But I just wanted to interject that. So go ahead and share your story on your conversation with your player.
Actually, Tim, it's funny that you mentioned that. The previous practice when we did that one-on-one race, the D came to me and said, can the forwards go on the D side and we go on the forward side once? And I said, sure, why? And they said, well, because some of them are chirping us a little bit because they weren't cheating on the drill, and so they are striding, and some of their faster forwards, of course, are beating them to that far blue line. And so so it was kind of funny that they did it. We did it, and then the forwards had a little more respect for the D on that drill and how hard it is for them to straight stride the whole length. But good
for both of them. Good for both of them to see the other side. Of quote unquote, as well. Like for the D to feel what it's like for a forward in that situation, and vice versa. So yeah, it's really, really good.
Well,
But
the
anyway,
other, yeah, the other thing that what Wally was talking about with the Daryl Belfry drills, what they were is ones where Daryl was designing to do with taking a surf angle or more of a forward angle on defending to terminate zone exits and zone entries. And that's one that actually will translate to all players. And it's interesting. It's an interesting way of thinking about it. When we think about a D traditionally in the offensive zone pinching up on that anchored forward down at the hash marks, we think of the D skating up to them forwards, stopping against them, or pivoting backwards skating. Whereas what Daryl's encouraging is taking that surf angle coming at them, and you're meeting them pointing the same direction. So even if the puck squirts by, you're in a foot race skating forwards for both players. And so it is an interesting thing. And our players, yeah, we hadn't done that before, and I sent them the video that we had video linked to look at it, but not many had, and tried drawing it out a bit as best I could. And of course, you know that translates for one or two. And then the next thing that we did was we did demo it on the ice with my assistant coaches so they could see it. And it did translate that the girls, they started to think it and get it, and actually they applied it really well, and it's something we're going to be using quite a bit in the future here, just so that they get that feel for it. Because even as Daryl had said in his video, that the first couple times that the player is doing it, they're not very comfortable with taking that angle. They still want to transition to the backward skating and gap up and defend that way. So we're working on it, and it's something that I do see that if we can get it into our repertoire, it'll just be another one of those things that'll help us be able to defend better, as well as I'm thinking at our level that on the forecheck side of things in the O zone, that terminating those zone exits against some teams that aren't nearly as strong at carrying the puck out or that sort of piece, that it will be hard to defend, or we will be hard to handle on the forecheck that way. So but long story longer, the other story that Wally was talking about was in doing one-on-ones with players, have a player that I think I shared this one before with some of you, but it was a player that as we're doing our one-on-ones, we start out with talking about core values, the core values that the team has, and asking the player which core values they feel that they have that supports the team, and then lead into well, actually, I back up one step. I start with if they've been working on what they want to do after high school, and because some have a clear path of what they want to do, and others not necessarily, but it's just asking that question so that they can continue to focus on that piece, then talk about the core values. Then we get into the talking about what they've personally been working on to improve, and then the last one is what we can do to support them, and what they may need from us to support them in their development as a coaching staff. And that's basically how it went. But I learned a while ago that it was actually from Jungle Jim Hunter, the value of journaling as an elite level athlete and the importance of it. And so we set up, provide the girls with journals right from the start of the season, and do team building activities where we have prompts, giving them to think about different things, and they journal in them. But their journals are theirs, and I tell them that right from the start, that it's a safe place for them to jot down their thoughts, because I will never ask to read them or look at them or those pieces. And so when we were having these one-on-ones, this one player brought her journal along and asked if there was anything that if I wanted to see her journal at the end of our one-on-one. And I said, no, your journal is yours. But I said, is there anything that you've got in there that you would choose to share? And she started thumbing through it, and there was quite a few pages in succession that were just little jot notes on them. And I just said, hey, Soph, what's that? And she said, well, you gave us the prompt of going through how we feel after every time that we're on the ice, and how we feel strength-wise, mentally, and how we've fatigue and hydration and hunger and all of those things. And she said, I've been using it. And so I said, so what have you learned by it, Soph? And she goes, well, she goes, I learned that our earlier practices, that I'm lots of times feeling hungry, so I need to eat more during the day leading into those, and just managing some of those things, and some of the times when we're really busy, that I become more tired and that I need more rest, and so it was kind of interesting to see how this player was learning more about herself as not just an elite athlete, but as a person, and what she needed to do to take care of herself. And I thought that was a great insight by that.
Jordan, just a reminder, if you could put that in a one pager so I can share it with Hockey Canada, ideally to, for them to share it with other evaluators.